It's astonishing how a single sentence can dismantle a 2-year relationship. I was blindsided until the words left her lips. We were lounging on the sofa last night, the TV droning on with a show neither of us cared about. I'd posed a straightforward question. How was your dinner with Ethan? Ethan was her ex. For the past 6 months, she'd been meeting him for closure coffees or catch-up dinners about once a month. Each time I'd push down my unease. But this time, she returned home carrying the faint scent of a familiar cologne, one I'd noticed on her coat weeks earlier and dismissed. I just wanted an honest answer. She glanced at me, a sly grin curling her mouth, and then she chuckled. She actually chuckled. It's amusing how you get so worked up when I meet my ex, she said, her tone laced with mockery. Maybe you're just not cut out to be a boyfriend. I didn't respond. I just stared at the wall behind her. Her words hung in the still room. She seemed to anticipate a fight, a plea, some kind of emotional outburst. When none came, she let out a huff, stood, and stormed to the bedroom, slamming the door. I stayed on the couch. I didn't chase her. I didn't raise my voice. I just kept replaying her words in my mind. Not cut out to be a boyfriend. It wasn't a challenge. It was a judgment. And in that moment I realized she was right. I wasn't the boyfriend she needed. So I was finished. The next morning, she was gone before I woke, likely expecting me to spend the day sulking and then beg for forgiveness for my jealousy. I didn't. Instead, I drove to the storage unit and grabbed a dozen large cardboard boxes. I spent the day systematically sorting through the apartment, packing everything that was hers. Her clothes, her cosmetics, her novels, the small knickknacks she'd placed around the space. I was meticulous. I wrapped her ceramic cups in bubble wrap and tucked her jewelry into a cushioned container. I didn't toss or damage anything, nor did I keep a single item. By 4 p.m., 12 boxes were sealed and stacked by the front door. The final step was critical. I'd found Ethan's address on an old birthday card she'd left in a drawer. I booked a courier service online, paying $227.50 for same-day express delivery. The confirmation email arrived at 4:15 p.m. with tracking number 9923C8114D. I printed the receipt and placed it on the now bare coffee table. I sent all her possessions straight to her ex's doorstep. Then I ordered a pizza and waited. Her first call came at 7:03 p.m. It was her. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was panicked. Where's all my stuff? What have you done? This isn't a joke. Call me back now. 5 more calls followed in quick succession. I ignored them all. Then came the texts. A barrage starting with bewilderment, escalating to fury, and finally spiraling into threats. I read them without responding. It was like observing a tempest from behind a reinforced window. The real chaos erupted the next day. A call came from an unfamiliar number. I answered, put it on speaker, and set my phone to record. It wasn't her. It was her mother. I don't know what kind of twisted game you're playing, she began. No greeting, no introduction. You can't just kick Rachel out like that. She has rights. She lives there. You have to let her back in to collect her things. I listened calmly until she finished. Good morning, Linda, I said evenly. Rachel's belongings have been delivered to her. She should check with Ethan. As for her living here, I'd recommend reviewing the lease for apartment 4B. There was a pause. What's the lease got to do with anything? She snapped. Everything, I replied. Rachel isn't and never was on the lease. She was my guest, and that privilege has been revoked. This was the cornerstone of my strategy, built on a solid foundation. When we moved in together, I was the only one who signed the lease. Her new job and shaky credit made it easier for me to be the sole tenant. At the time, it felt like an act of support. Now it was my defense. The guest clause, Section 7, subsection C, was explicit. A single guest stay cannot exceed 14 consecutive days without the landlord's written approval. Long-term guests must be added to the lease. She'd been a guest for 2 years, and I'd never sought that approval. My landlord, Mr. Thompson, was a stickler for regulations. He was a meticulous, old-fashioned property manager who documented everything. Linda sputtered on the line. That's absurd. She paid rent. No, I corrected. She sent me money monthly to contribute to expenses. All rent and utility payments came from my account, and I have receipts to prove it. She has no legal claim to this apartment. I could hear her seething through the phone. You'll hear from our attorney, she said, then hung up. I immediately composed an email to Mr. Thompson. The subject was concise. Guest departure notification. Apt 4B. In the email I wrote, "Dear Mr. Thompson, I'm informing you that my long-term guest, Rachel Martin, has permanently left the premises as of yesterday, September 10th. Per our lease, I remain the sole tenant. Please let me know if you need further documentation. Sincerely, your name." I sent it at 11:32 a.m. His reply came within an hour. "Thank you for the update. Your file has been updated accordingly. T." I took a screenshot of the exchange. It was another piece of evidence in my arsenal. For a couple of days, things were quiet. Unnervingly so. I began to think they'd backed off, that the lawyer threat was empty. I should have known better. The next assault came from a different angle, our social circle. We had a tight-knit group of friends, mainly two other couples. Tom and Lisa, and Greg and Claire. We'd been close for years. On Thursday night, Lisa texted me, "Hey, can we talk? Something's come up." I agreed. She sounded uneasy. "Look," she started. "I don't want to get involved, but Rachel's been posting some awful stuff in our group chat. She's saying you had a mental breakdown, that you yelled at her and threw her out with nothing but what she was wearing because you're a possessive, controlling jerk." A chill settled in my gut. It wasn't enough to end things. She wanted to ruin my reputation too. "Lisa, do you believe her?" I asked. A pause. "Honestly, it doesn't seem like you, but she's very convincing. She's claiming you were monitoring her phone and threatened her. This was the smear campaign. I'd anticipated it, but hearing the details made it real. Can you send me screenshots of what she's saying?" I asked. Lisa hesitated, then agreed. A minute later, my phone pinged. There were 5 screenshots from their WhatsApp group, the crew. I read them. It was a masterclass in manipulation. Rachel's messages were packed with crying emojis and theatrical claims. "I'm so scared. He was like a stranger. He screamed at me for hours. I was terrified. He probably destroyed all my things. All my family photos are gone forever." Greg and Claire were fully supportive, sending comforting messages. Tom was more reserved, mostly using emojis. The worst lie was about the yelling. My entire response hinged on the fact that I hadn't said a word. A denial wouldn't cut it. It would be my word against her dramatic act. I needed undeniable proof. I spent the next hour crafting my response, not for the group chat, but a targeted message to Tom and Lisa, the most level-headed of the group. I wrote, "Hey guys, I'm not getting into a public fight, but I want you, our closest friends, to know the truth. I'm attaching 3 things. 1. A screenshot of a text from Rachel last month where she admitted to lying about who she was with, claiming she was with Lisa when she was with Ethan. A screenshot of the courier receipt showing I paid over $200 to have all 12 boxes of her belongings safely delivered to Ethan's doorstep. 3. The final text she sent me before I ended things. The third attachment was crucial. I kept it. After one of her earlier closure coffees with Ethan, I texted her, "Hope you had a good time. Feeling uneasy about it? Can we talk?" Her reply was dismissive. "Stop being so paranoid. It's not a good look. We're just friends. If you can't deal with it, that's your issue." I placed that text next to a screenshot of her group chat claim that I was a controlling maniac. The contrast was glaring. I ended my message to Tom and Lisa with one line. "I never yelled. I never threatened her. I just took her at her word that I wasn't boyfriend material and sent her and her things to the person she clearly preferred." I sent it and turned off my phone for the night. The next morning, Tom replied, "Wow, just wow. We had no clue. Lisa and I are so sorry we doubted you. This is wild. We're staying out of it, but we've got your back." Greg and Claire never reached out. The friend group split just like that. Rachel had overreached, assuming I'd just absorb her attacks. She didn't know I was keeping records. Her smear campaign cost her the friends who might have blindly supported her. She'd isolated herself with her own lies. A week later, the apartment felt calm, quiet, and truly mine again. I rearranged the furniture, got a new rug, and tossed out the jasmine-scented candles she loved that I'd always despised. It was serene. I thought the drama was finally done. Then came the third escalation, the boldest yet. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was working from home when an unknown number called. It was Linda, her mom again. This time, her tone was sickeningly sweet. "Hi," she said, her voice syrupy. "I know things have been strained, but we've got a serious issue." Rachel realized she left behind a precious family heirloom, her great-grandmother's sapphire necklace. "It's been in our family for generations, priceless in both sentiment and value. I stayed quiet, letting her continue. She's heartbroken, Linda went on, her voice trembling with fake emotion. She thinks it might have slipped behind the dresser in the bedroom. We wouldn't trouble you, but it's so important. Can we arrange a time for her to come by? With me, of course, just for a few minutes to look. My stomach tightened. This was a trap. There was no necklace. This was a calculated move to get back into the apartment. Once inside, she could refuse to leave, claim residency, and start a legal nightmare. They were trying to deceive me using sentiment as a weapon. I couldn't just refuse, that would make me seem heartless. I had to prove their lie. That sounds serious, I said, my tone neutral. Let me check. I have a security camera in the living room, facing the front door. I set it up after a package was stolen a few months ago. It records everything. Let me review the footage from the morning she left. If she wasn't wearing it when she walked out, it must be here somewhere. I'll call you back in an hour. The silence on the other end was palpable. I could almost hear Linda's plan unraveling. Oh, she said, her voice shrinking. A camera, I see. Yes, I said. For security. I'll check and let you know. I hung up before she could respond. I immediately pulled up the security feed archive on my laptop. The camera was a basic Blink model, but it captured clear, time-stamped footage. I found the video from the morning she left, the day I packed her things. Timestamp, 8:12 a.m. The front door opens, and Rachel walks out, dressed for work. She pauses to check her purse. And there, unmistakable against her navy blouse, was the sapphire necklace. It wasn't subtle. It was a bold piece she wore to fancy occasions. She was wearing it as she left for good. I clipped the 15-second video, zooming in on the necklace briefly to make it clear. I attached the file to an email addressed to Linda. The subject was simple, found it. In the body, I wrote one sentence. Good news, the necklace wasn't left behind. See attached video from 8:12 a.m. on September 10th. I hit send. There was no response, no text, no call, no email. Nothing. That was the checkmate. I had proven, with undeniable time-stamped evidence, that Rachel was lying, and her mother was in on it. They tried to manipulate their way back into my home, and they'd been caught. The humiliation must have been crushing. There was no way to twist this. They couldn't paint me as the villain. I had calmly presented the truth. The fallout was complete silence from their side. But the story had one final, unexpected twist. A month after the necklace incident, I got a text from an unknown number. Hey, this is Ethan. You don't know me, but you sent your ex's stuff to my place a while back. My instinct was to block him. I was done with their world, but curiosity won out. I replied with a single. His response came quickly. Just wanted to say thanks. That was the wildest, most revealing thing that's ever happened to me. She showed up that night, ranting about you, then tried to move into my guest room. Took 2 weeks to get her out. She's unhinged. You dodged a catastrophe, man. I stared at the text. I hadn't considered Ethan's perspective. He wasn't just the ex. He was the unintended target of my retaliation. He was collateral damage in Rachel's chaos. I typed back, sorry you got pulled into it. Hope it's resolved now. His final message was the true closure. All resolved. Blocked her everywhere. Realized how much therapy I needed after our breakup. Your delivery was like the priciest wake-up call ever. Cheers, man. I read his words and felt a sense of completion. It was over. The drama was drained. The lies exposed. The bridges burned. Her attempts to manipulate, defame, and deceive me had failed because I refused to engage emotionally. I stuck to facts, evidence, and the terms of our agreements. I blocked Rachel's number. I blocked Linda's number. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a bourbon, and savored the calm, simple silence of my own home.